You're listening to the IWD406 Podcast with your hosts, Julie Wells and Kate McLaughlin.
Today on the IWD406 Podcast, we have Marcela Cloud. She is Alaskan-born, Montana-raised. Marcella is a 35-year-old wife and mother of two beautiful, healthy boys. She is a professional makeup artist who works on location, specializing in production work and the bridal scene. She has had the privilege of working with brides from across the U.S. and works on photo shoots for companies like Zeiss Camera Lenses, Altered State, and Olukai Footwear. In addition to makeup artistry, Marcella is a fashion stylist, dressing a diverse clientele such as Coleman, the outdoor company, LA musicians, local Flathead Valley artists, and business owners, and many more. When she's not working, you can find her recharging in the woods, likely by a little mountain lake, and or spending quality time with the family.
Woohoo!
Welcome, Marcella.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I love it. I love recharging in the woods.
Yes.
We all need to do a little bit of that.
It's what I'm best at.
I love it. What is your favorite? Do you go into Glacier Park?
No, we tend to stay away from
Too many
Glacier.
people.
Too many people. And if you lived here before the ticket system, it's really hard to get on board. It's so great we have GMP in our backyard, but I just prefer a little bit more privacy and out of town, away from people.
I hear you with that. I was when I first moved here, I was like, we got to go to Glacier Park every day, and then I was like, it's very touristy.
It's a trek.
Because
Yeah.
then I became a Montanan. That was when I officially knew. I'm like, oh my gosh, those are tourists.
I'm a local now. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's get into. Are you originally a Montanan?
So no, let's see. I was born in Alaska. My dad brought us down in 97. So he got a job as the private school principal here in Whitefish. So it's now called Whitefish Christian Academy. Mm-hmm. It was called Cross Currents back in the day.
Okay.
So I was going into fourth grade when we made the move.
Well, that's a big year to come into it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now, okay, let's talk about being raised in Alaska, because I think that's a really fascinating place to be. Yeah, what was that
what
like?
part of Alaska?
So we were all over. I had family all over. My dad was a commercial fisherman for a while. So I was born in Anchorage. We lived in Fairbanks. We lived in Marcella, Eagle River. And then I spent a lot of my summers in the little fishing communities. So Valdez, Ketchikan. Yeah, all over, sprinkled all over.
Do you know how to fish?
I do know how to fish. Do I enjoy it? No. I'm more of like I'll sit on the beach, cheer you on. I'll have some snacks, enjoy the sun, read a book type of person.
Yes.
And then one thing I love about being from Alaska and Montana is I am from the only two states with one area code.
No.
Vermont. Oh, okay. So
That's
there's
where I'm from.
Oh, look at us.
There's actually, ladies.
And New
Is there
Hampshire
more
probably
now?
too.
So with IWD406, our goal is to be in all the single area code states.
I love
Well,
that.
how many did you research
11.
and find?
11.
My claim to fame is over. Hold on.
And they are some of the best states in America.
I would have to agree.
Hawaii, Vermont is wonderful.
Yes.
Alaska, Montana. I think it's, Rhode Island. What is that?
Exactly.
That was like
juice.
yeah, there's several.
Very
But yes.
cool.
Isn't that
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah.
Do you guys have actually like a sticker that they put on the back of cars up in Alaska?
Yeah, one that was really popular was like 907 girls do it better.
We do.
Yeah. AK girls do it better. Yeah.
I love that.
I love Alaska. I went to college there.
Really?
University of
UAA.
Alaska, Anchorage.
That's awesome.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that about you. Okay, hold on, Marcella. I got to tell you, little nuggets that come into play. As we do these interviews, Kate's like, I've done that. I'm like, wait a minute. What?
And I worked on the fishing docks in Dillingham.
Really? Yeah. I had a lot of girlfriends who worked on the docks and they made some money.
good money.
Yeah, because you don't think like young, attractive girls would be out there working, but they work as hard or just as or harder.
And you look so good in your big rubber boots and your
And
full
your
rain gear.
waders.
And
I love that. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, let's go into transitioning into Montana. You're in fourth grade. Your family just moved in this area.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So it was, looking back, it was a great childhood, a great time. But I do remember having these little thoughts that would always pop up. There's 8 kids in my family. we are all extremely tall and very athletic. So we came in to the whitefish community very hot. I remember looking back, I came from such a strong ethnic community up in Alaska. And I also had my Lola, my grandmother, so her community as well. And then when we moved here, I just remember being like, there's no one, when we moved to Whitefish, there was no one that looked like us or looked like me. There was no Asian market. Mabuhay was not a thing. Shout out Mabuhay in Kalispell. So there
Wait, what is Mabuhay?
It's the store in Kalispell
it's
that
an
you
Oriental
can get.
market.
Yes.
Oh, I
it's
didn't know that.
amazing.
Okay,
Yeah,
I need to
it's
learn
really,
about this.
Yeah,
Yep, okay.
It's really good.
Okay.
But that wasn't there. There wasn't a lot of culture. I think what we had at the time was maybe China Wall, and even that seemed very like
Buffet.
yeah, and whitewashed. Like it didn't have the same flavors as what I was used to. But yeah, I remember just that was a huge thing for me. Was like, where are the girls that look like me?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be difficult.
Yeah, it was because as a young girl growing up, you start noticing things about yourself and you start noticing the effect you have on others. And being solo, not being blonde and having a darker skin tone, it was at times just a little bit lonely.
Did they treat you differently, or what, were they all kind, like the way humans?
Everyone was super kind. But I think as I got older too, it was like, and even younger, like I even see it when parents come up to my children now, just being like, where are you from? No, but like, where are you from? Or just those little microaggressions that sometimes people aren't even aware are microaggressions, but they do make me feel a certain type of way. So it was like, where are you from? What are you?
What are you?
Human.
I look at it, but I look at it like from the genetic standpoint. I'm always fascinated by that because then I always think of the health evolution sometimes. But
That's
it's
where
because
your brain goes
where
with
my
it.
brain
Yeah.
goes because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, if I'll ask people, I'm like, oh, they'll say something. I'm like, oh, are you Irish? Because then there's the heme gene involved, and then I'll go down that. Oh, you must have these problems. But like from the judgment standpoint, I totally see where that can be. Is that my lead? Is that where I need to lead with people here?
Yeah.
And just to get it out of the way, to make the uncomfortableness go away. And I'm sorry that you dealt with that. That's really unfortunate. And I do think the community is getting better. There's a lot more people moving here.
Totally. Even like when BLM happened, the community in Whitefish really gathered together, and even seeing seeing that visual was like healing for me in a way, because it was like, oh, like there is support here in the community. There are people who get it, and we do have allies here.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So now growing up from fourth grade, did you stay at what was the name of the school before it changed?
At the time it was CCCS, Cross Currents Christian School.
And that's not a very big school. I mean, it is tiny.
Tiny. I think the biggest class I ever had, because I was there till about 8th grade, I think was maybe 15 people, 15 kids.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 4th through 8th, those kids follow you throughout your whole journey too. So it's not like you're getting new kids added or whatever.
Yes.
Every year it's just the same bunch of kids. Yeah.
Which I think is, sorry, Kate, I think is wonderful. My kids were there, and I think it's wonderful because the teachers are phenomenal and it's a tight community in school. Yeah. But also, I'm sure you were the same way. I came from a bigger school system.
I came from very rural. You were in the same from K through 8.
Yeah.
It was just.
And what size? Class of the size
there's
of
one
the
class and one class for each grade, and it was no more than 20 kids either.
Oh, wow.
And then you never really switched. You didn't have those like class periods where you would switch and get like a different teacher. It was like the same teacher all the time.
Oh, we tried that in 7th and 8th grade,
Yeah.
and it was fun just to practice for high school. So you switch between the 3 teachers.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so foreign to me.
You grow up with the same teachers as well throughout. Gotcha. Yeah.
Which this is why I looked at my kids and I thought, you're going to the school there's only 10 of you in the class. So choose friends and be friends with everyone, because where I came from, there were pockets of cliques and kids and the I don't know. They're just different growing up.
That was
in the 80s
something
and
I
90s.
experienced
with
as I got
small,
older.
that
Yeah.
smallness, I didn't really feel the clicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
There wasn't enough.
There wasn't enough. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
teachers were also really good at making sure everybody got along.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like-
Mean Girls is an example
Your school?
of my
Ooh,
school.
that's rough.
The very distinguished clickiness. And I often felt like I was Switzerland because I'd bounce in between whatever my flavor was that weekend. I'd, hey, let's go hang out and do that.
Yeah.
So I think that bouncing maybe, I think you have to have a certain type of personality and you can be a chameleon and do that.
Yeah.
But I think it was brutal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it sounds like to me, your experience at Whitefish Cross Currents seemed to be pretty fluid. Did it feel fluid to you?
Yeah. Cross Currents was great. Like it was such like a safe time for me.
Yes.
Like the kids in my class were all really kind. Like I knew all the parents. The parents went to church with my parents.
And it
was-
helps your dad was the principal.
Actually,
What?
that was a little bit intense because like there'd be a test on Friday and he'd be like, oh, I can find your grade out and before the end of day. So that would be my whole weekend.
Pressure.
Yeah, yeah. And then on the flip side, it was great. If I had a tummy ache, I could go lay down in his
right.
office or whatever, or forget my lunch. I could steal his. So.
Yeah, but you,
Did the whole family go then?
So yeah, at the time, whoever could fit in
the
the
age
eighth
gaps and
in the
whatever.
grade, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was me on down. So 4 went, and then the 4 were old enough to be in high school.
What number are you and your
So
family?
I'm right in the middle. There's 8 kids. So it goes 4 boys, me, 2 more boys, my little sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
where do
So-
you fall, Kate?
I'm number 4 of 9.
Yeah. I'm like mini mom. Like I was always like the one my mom would be like, go tell everyone it's time for dinner. Like,
Oh, yep.
yeah, wrangle them all. And so I've never had a problem like with that. And I think that's why it works so well in my career is I feel very comfortable just being like, okay, in my chair, let's go. Like
Yeah.
keeping the timeline and being
You
the
have to
boss.
be as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, having a presence, I think. Yeah.
Totally. So then you went to Cross Currents to 8th grade and then you transitioned into high school. That to me seems scary coming from a very small school and then going to, I don't know how many per class, 200 maybe.
Yeah.
My kids are at Whitefish High School, 200 per class plus.
It was scary. And it was
Yeah.
also like my older brothers had already established their name in the sports field. So people like knew who I was, but they didn't know who I was. So it was also very confusing. Hey, we see this girl around, but all of a sudden she's like at school, like what? Yes. And then there's probably a little bit of like preconceived notions or whatever. So trying to fight against those. And also these kids had been going together in the same school for years, like some of them since they were in pre-K.
Yeah.
So by the time I switched into public school, it was so hard for me to assimilate and break into those circles and
Absolutely.
and also know pop culture and what was popular and like what to wear. Like none of that had ever been a huge thing.
Let me just point something out, Marcella. You go to a school that requires a uniform.
Yeah.
Right? And then you switch to a high school that there's no uniform.
Yeah. Or also like
No rules.
private school was like raise your hands up, no belly button, hands down, like your shorts have to be longer. Like it was
Gotcha.
like a free for all. Like we were allowed to have holes in our jeans. Like what? That
Was it fun shopping though? School shopping?
No,
Or is it
because I've always been tall. Even
Yeah.
though I had transitioned to public school, my parents still valued the private school rules. So we still shopped
Maintain
that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a little bit more of a freedom factor.
Yeah, a
going
little
on.
bit more, but because I have very long limbs,
Yes.
that it was hard to find anything that was appropriate to at the time.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have the
Was that a lot
opposite
of skirts
problem.
then? So you didn't have to find those pants.
Even pants, because skirts was like my legs are so long that on being a kid, you're not paying attention to how you're bending over. You're just being a kid.
I love that you said that though,
Yeah.
because I think it's important for the modesty factor. I think has gone out the door. Anything goes, which is what it's good and bad.
Yeah.
But I think that mindfulness of respecting ourselves and just being mindful of our bodies
Yeah.
and
It
how
also makes you aware of your
aware.
body.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying. Yeah, that point.
And
yeah,
I think too,
absolutely.
setting up those younger kids for success. Like I would hate to send a child to school in a skirt and then they get embarrassed. So you could always buy a skirt instead or something until they learn how to be mentally aware of those things.
Which we'll get into your profession, but I think it's fascinating transitioning from that type of mindset into the high school. Is that when you started to explore that creative aspect of like how we look, that outward reflection? Did you wear makeup and all that when you were younger?
You know, I wasn't allowed to. It was clear mascara, which was like such a big deal. What? And I remember I had the Revlon blush, and it was like Merlot.
Okay, I love this.
Yeah. And I just put so much blush on, and I would do pounds and pounds of clear mascara. Like nothing would happen. But to me, it was just like the act of it, like the process of it.
I have to say, if I put on, you have dark, luscious eyelashes. And Kate, you can see your eyelashes. Me, they're translucent.
I have to wear mascara.
I'm like, if I don't have mascara in my bag,
darkness.
I'm literally.
She's like the true blonde.
I'm a Czechoslovakian blonde.
Eyelashes.
You can't see. I look albino. It's like crazy. But yeah, so that's okay. So going into high school, the transitional period, did you learn to acclimate and adjust?
I went through some learning times where I was like, I definitely didn't handle that situation correctly, or I put myself in a situation that I shouldn't have because I just wasn't aware. Right. And I had a lot of trust in people. And so I would say the transition was hard, but I still had not yet come into that creative side of me yet.
Yeah.
I don't think that came until later, until I really started rebelling and really like harnessing like how different I was and then turning it into like my superpower.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you share about your rebellious stage or what that looked like?
Boys.
I love that. We've all been through that.
Yeah. Like I have 6 brothers. Yeah. So boys naturally are my comfort zone. I have 2 boys myself. So boys are just like what I gravitate towards. I'm very, I feel very comfortable shooting the shit with them, being able to tease. And then with girls, I only had one sister who was 7 years younger than me. So that energy was very different. And that was really hard for me to navigate through. That was like, oh, we're not straightforward with the boys. We got to play games here. I have to move 8 different ways before I can actually tell you how I feel. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And let me just go back to saying you have a very different, a significant age gap.
Yeah.
Okay. Just imagine being a 16-year-old and then minus 7, a 9-year-old to bounce ideas off of.
Not a lot of
or like
relatability.
team up with me to get mom and dad to do something for us or whatever. It just
that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the high school period, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the high school period is a really fucking difficult time for girls.
Yeah.
And puberty and then emotions and then sensitivities.
There was a lot of competition,
right? And then so you've got all these boys that they just think differently. They react differently. And I get you on why to gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a person that has a tendency, maybe you can slough things off easier or maybe you're more sensitive. I don't know, but thinking to go to boys, it feels more safe.
And I think too, it was like, to this day, like I keep my thoughts and my emotions like close to my heart. Like I'm always kind and I always like will speak my opinion, but to know my true like thoughts and how I feel, like you have to be my husband. Like I'm very guarded with my truth in that way. So with girls, it was really hard for me to navigate through all of that, which is so funny because now I work with all women and it's like the best feeling ever. So I went from just my safe zone being men and boys to then learning the value of a female like community and just like sticking with it and learning to navigate women. And you guys are incredible.
They are
just insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes for women, because we have so much similarities, right? And then you get somebody, I'm throwing this out there because this shit happens, right? Backstabbing in high school. And then it makes you not want to trust. It makes you want to be more guarded. And if you don't have parenting or somebody in your life, caregivers that can help you emotionally process that, it can be even more challenging. And as you navigate life, it can be a problem developing relationships with women. Do you guys feel that way? Or?
In some way, I think in high school, it seems like more women are experimenting with power. And I think that's maybe where you get the mean girl and things like that, where they can't do it with boys, but they can control other people through their own power and clicks and unfortunately it's usually negative ways.
Yeah.
I can make you feel bad.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good, makes me feel like I'm powerful.
Yeah.
And I think young women, you need to change that.
Yeah.
Today's episode of the IWD406 podcast is sponsored by Electric. Hey, this is Kate. Electric is my stage name when I'm a singer-songwriter. Okay, now that we've established this, we can move on. I've created a songwriting challenge for you to write your first song or your next one. To find out more about the Songs Inside You challenge, visit songsinsideyou.com today. We need lots of music in the world. Please write more songs.
And I think too, that was part of my rebellion, was like trying to figure it out. And so I was being put in these situations, like I was going to house parties. I was dabbling in like minor drug usage. I was
Regular high school stuff.
Yeah,
it's regular stuff.
I was starting to like,
diminish
yeah. I was starting to feel like the power of being a woman too. So I was exploring my sexual identity, like all very natural things. But when being raised in such a Christian household, it just wasn't looked at that way.
Yeah, and that goes back to having a parent that they lean more into that type of restrictive control versus understanding that we are all humans.
Yeah.
We're all seeking something, right? And oftentimes I feel like parents struggle with that. They get stricter, more strict, and they lean harder into religion, and it actually creates more of a rebellious nature of like, you're in that prime period. I got a son. I know what's going on. And I think you're going to naturally rebel because you're like, they don't get me. They don't understand me. And
I also think too, like when you have to question like, okay, I grew up in this religious household. My parents value this religion. How did they get there? What was their story? Like it can't, to me now, like looking back on it, you can't just give someone one path. Yeah. Like you can introduce it to them and then let them find it. Like let them go off the path a little bit. Maybe they'll come back to it. But like we can only, like as parents, they can be true to what they believe. But as someone who's growing up and learning things, obviously there's going to be some testing of the waters. Yeah. And I think too, there needs to be a lot more faith in your kids and how you raise them. Let them experience a little bit of trials and tribulations, but you've taught them how to handle it. You've filled their cup with knowledge, and you should just trust that your parenting skills are going to come through at the end, and that your relationship with your kid is strong enough for them to come and communicate and be honest with you.
That's beautiful. I love what you just said. And I also want to add, just simplistically say, be a soft place to land.
Yeah.
Even though you can get frustrated with your kids, right? Kate is wonderful and sharing this wisdom about raising. You got 2 older boys. Yeah, you got 3 boys. 3 boys.
Yep. Dang.
Yep. And one currently in high school. All wonderful kids. Yep. And when I think to myself, there's days that I just want to strangle, but I have to pull back and say, okay, I always want to be a soft place to land. And I think that's super important. Yeah. But for some people, it happens where you can't do it anymore. So they become estranged from the family. And I do want to dive deeper into that topic if everybody feels most comfortable with that. And I want to start with just one thing. So according to Psychology Today, on average, estrangement can last about 9 years. For mothers, more than 5 years. For fathers, more than 7 years. And I'm going to further expound that, all right? So according to an article titled Exploring the Roots, Misunderstandings, Unresolved Conflicts, and a lack of effective communication can erode trust and strain on relationships. Now, issues such as not dismissive attitudes as a parent. I don't get that. I don't buy that. I don't want to further dive deeper into that topic. What I say is law, or an inability to express emotion openly, because oftentimes we're in that parent role. We can't have those emotions. We can't show them to our children. Can contribute to the breakdown of communication and ultimately lead to estrangement. So let's get into what does happen oftentimes. I know I can say that I am part of a family that has some of those things happening, and estrangement is very common. Very common. It's a hot topic on Reddit. I can say that one. But when you have evolved in high school and you get away from high school, Did you start to see yourself pulling away from your family?
So yeah, actually, there was a period in my life where, you know, my parents thought my rebellion got out of control. So at a young age, I was sent to a program.
Okay.
It was called Spring Creek Academy, and that was in Thompson Falls. And there's actually a documentary on HBO that just came out. That is it. My program fell under that umbrella.
Okay.
So it's HBO. I think it's called The Program. Yep. And so I was actually placed there for 2 years. I wasn't released till I was 18.
Wow.
So yeah, I would say like the way I think, the way I operate is very different from my family because of that time period I was away. What do they say? Like nature versus nurture.
I don't think that program is quite.
Yeah. Like the way my siblings think is very different than how I think, because we spent at very young ages, I was raised differently.
Yeah.
So just my thought process is very different than like my other 7 siblings.
Yes.
And even my parents.
Yes. And I find that to be true I'm just speaking because I think this is a great conversation. I find that true to be for my family. There was just 2 different camps.
Yeah.
My brother and I were raised, my parents were young, 19 years old, having kids, had a very significant period of tragedy in our family, left a big gap. And then my other brother and sister were born later on. And there were just 2 different styles of parenting, right?
Yeah.
And then if you do have that mindset, which you're creative, you're a creative person, and maybe abstract thought doesn't really align a linear education system or a linear type of thinking in school. So that can pose as a challenge for teachers, other students, and then the parent. Because, my kid's not following the process of learning or education. And then, guess what? The way we're going to handle this is we're going to send her away.
Yeah. And I think media had a big thing to do with that too, because it seemed like, we're going to save your kids. Yeah. We're just going to put them in a happy woodland area.
And that's what that program was about.
Yeah, and it operated on fear.
Though. It operates on fear, and it's very strict, and it's not a schooling.
For me,
is it where they kidnap the kid?
Yes, they take you in the middle of the night. Yeah, it was pretty intense. I always say I went in with a minor understanding of drugs and partying, and I left with a master's degree because there's no mental stimulation. There's not a lot of growth for anyone to happen. You're literally just like sitting there.
And like in lockdown.
You're pretty much in jail. I've been in both, and they both feel very similar.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And especially as a child, essentially I was 16 going in the program. I didn't talk for the first couple of months I was even there because I just didn't know what the fuck was I even going to say.
Are they going to use my words against me?
Yeah. Or who are these people? I've been plopped into a room and I've never seen any of you in my entire life. I didn't know I was going here. I don't understand why I'm here. I don't know when I get to leave. I don't know what I have to do to leave. And so for me, I was just taking it all in for months before I even spoke to anyone.
That feels like PTSD for me.
Oh yeah, definitely. To this day, I still constantly battle some of the feelings and thoughts that I started to think while in there.
Yeah.
But I've come out on the other side. And if anything, it's made me such a good mom, like such a better mom.
That's what I was going to ask you. On the back end of it, first, I just want to say, do these programs still exist?
So mine got shut down by the state because the therapists that they were sending us to didn't even have their licenses.
What?
It was very unregulated, and it was a lot of,
that's crazy.
I'll say, religious based. So I think they could slide under things a little bit ways and stuff.
They used they would put us in solitary, like they would use food, like bribe us with food. Like it was very much
that sounds
education. It was,
Were you able to have access to phone calls to your parents?
No,
nothing for 2 years.
So my parents could write me and I could write them, but all letters were read by someone first before they would get sent to your parents. Essentially, if they deemed it as you being too whiny, or if they felt you were stretching the truth, they would keep your letter and make you rewrite it. It was everything.
So it's also
was
censored. The parents will never know what the kids are going through because they're going to stop it. They're like, oh no, they put me in solitary. Obviously, that school's not going to
just
let
chuck
that information
letter
out to the parents.
And they necessarily don't even tell you that they didn't send it. You just never know.
Wow. I'm curious to know, do you keep in contact with anybody that went to that school?
Actually, I do. Yeah. And some of them are so amazing. A lot of them are moms now and are so incredible. Some are famous models in New York.
That's amazing.
It's insane. Like a lot of us are doing great things, but some of us are still struggling with the guilt and the shame and the PTSD. So there is a 50-50 chance of when some are still doing drugs and are in that lifestyle. Some people were some of us were able to mentally overcome it.
Right.
Others, it just dug them a deeper hole.
Yeah. And I would feel, just thinking personally, if I was going through what you've gone through, I'd walk away being very fucking pissed.
Because
Angry.
even after the program, my parents didn't allow me. And this is like no shade to my family or my parents. Like I don't know your thought process or where they were at or if they were operating out of fear or what. But even after the program, I was not allowed to move back in with my parents. They actually sent me back up to Alaska to live with my grandmother. And so for me, ever since I got sent to that program at a young age, it was always like I was trying to fit into my family. I was trying to be what they thought I had to be to receive their love and to be in that unit. And unfortunately, I always fell short and I always was pushing the boundaries. And it was just by me being me that I was considered bad. And so after years of going through this up and down journey with them and years of conversations, it was just like, you know what? I'm done. I know who I am. I'm starting to like who I am. Like for years, you guys told me I couldn't. So it was like, I have to separate myself because when I'm around them, I do see these little family nuances where you see a little bit of favoritism or how one child is dealt differently than the other child. And it just breaks my heart and I just can't be around it. So for me, I just had to remove myself. My children are still very much allowed to see my side of the family if they are in town or available. But for my own mental health, I had to take a step back.
Did you ever have a conversation with your parents about the school or why? Were they ever open
my
to
parents
communication?
never asked. Never once. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was something too. It was like, oh, you guys never asked if anything happened to me. You never asked what daily life was like while I was in there. It was, you were left, you were forgotten, but now you're back. So let's just go back to like how it was and just like behave. Yeah. And then my mom's a first gen immigrant. So as you were touching upon earlier, I literally remember her saying, you're my child. I don't talk about how I feel with you because you're my kid.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So for them, like emotions are not especially my mother is something that you just don't talk about.
Generational, culturally, there's all those things wrapped into that. But I see just blankedly, it's a feeling of completely not being understood.
Yes.
Do you feel like, I'm assuming since coming out of that, you are just amazingly, just being in your presence, there's such a beautiful
thanks,
light
guys.
to
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think to myself, I'm like, you had to have gone through so many healing journeys and processes to really understand how you've compartmentalized everything.
Yeah.
Has there been a theme of value and worth and understanding of self?
Yeah. I used to do a lot of self-harm.
Yeah.
I used to, sabotage myself, literally put myself in situations so then I could fuck it up and then have this
you always have that
tornado
reason.
around
Yes.
me. Yeah. Cause that's what I was comfortable with. I was like chaos, blah, that's where I felt the best.
Right.
And then I started dating my husband, who's now my husband. And I'm going to cry.
Oh,
He has literally, he puts a mirror up to me every day. And I want you to see how amazing you are and like the safe space he's created for me. And I remember when we first started dating and we were first together, I would just be in I would get these lows. And there was one incident where I was self-harming and he just came in, took some things out of my hands and just held me for hours. And this man has brought so much healing to my life and safety and loyalty. His loyalty is outstanding. Like, he gets a text message from someone asking about me and this is my wife. I'm loyal to her. I would never want to speak on her behalf. So if you would like to know, please reach out to her. He just always is so aware of my insecurities, and he protects me so much. And so I think having him in my life I've really been able to live up to his expectations, but also see the greatness in me. And how he treats me.
Love story.
I know.
I think we need Kleenex.
Yeah.
That is such a gift.
Yeah.
Oh,
if
you
that's
have
been
such
one thing, is my immediate family, my 2 boys and my husband.
They're your soul and heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that, Marcella.
And I protect them so hard. I don't have a lot of people in my life who are around them, or I just don't let anyone access
of course.
it because it's so sacred to me. So usually it's just the 4 of us in the woods and we're just hanging out. It's the best thing ever. Yeah.
Just what an inspiring story of where you've been. And you're going to touch somebody's heart, and you're going to give people hope from this.
I hope so.
1,000%. Just being, and I just want to say thank you for being willing to share.
That's being vulnerable and sharing.
Yeah,
everything.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And like I said, you're going to just tap into somebody who's really desperate, and they're going to hear your story.
Yeah.
So
and if you
thank
do and you want to talk more about it, please reach out. I'm always here. I know how lonely it can be. So
It's absolutely lonely.
Yeah.
And especially like moving forward. And I want to switch to more of a positive note, but moving forward in your journey of knowing that sometimes you have to let go of things, and you have to bring in light and love and laughter. But there's going to be moments. They say the average is 9 years. That's a long time to have to really work through the grief of letting go. So that's a process. And I'm assuming you've probably gone through that process as well.
Yeah. There's times where, I still reach for the phone and I'm like, I would love to call someone in my family. But I think for me, I'm not fully there yet. And I don't want to open that door until I am.
Ready.
It's a lot of journaling. It's a lot of reading books. It's a lot of just thinking back upon like my childhood and empathy, like trying to understand where my mom and dad are coming from, just coming at it from every angle that I can, because I just want to understand it. And I don't want to live with this forever. That's not my end goal, right? Like, I don't want to carry this for forever. And I don't want my children to eventually have to, experience this or become familiar with it. Right. But it is a process, and I'm giving that process time. I'm not trying to rush through it. I'm trying to do the steps correctly, and I'm trying to handle the situation as carefully as I can, and take responsibility and accountability where I can. And I think that's all I can do.
Yeah.
But I think there will be a time where we can come back together as a family, as a unit. It just needs more time.
Needs more time
in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Gosh, I can see you writing a book. Just throwing that out there.
Oh God.
And helping. I'm just going to side note this, but the podcast world and listening to not a lot of people sharing their stories about choosing to let go and give yourself some time to try to figure out why there's this feeling of uncertainty being around your family. Yeah. And I think that there needs to be more conversations like this around that. I just want to say thank you. That very powerful conversation. But I want to switch.
Yes.
Happier stuff.
Happier stuff.
Yeah, to your insanely creatively beautiful mind. And let's talk a little bit about you diving deeper into this creative world of makeup,
which I
and
don't know
fashion.
anything about.
I know.
So I'd
I want to
hear
I love
what you
makeup,
know.
so let's talk about
so
it.
fun.
Yeah. What got you into it?
Being an only girl with 6 brothers, it was like hyper masculine energy all the time, just like flexing and stuff. And I remember my mom, she never wore makeup, but when she did, she would just put on a red lip. That was like her whole thing. And I was like, like the transformation of a red lip. I was just mesmerized. I was just always like, how do I capture that feeling? That, because you can see a woman change, right? Like in the mirror, and then they put the red lip on and they just start to carry themselves a little bit more elegant, and the eye contact is stronger. And so for me, I was like, I really want to like tap into that energy. Like, how do I harness like that power? As I got older too, like in my 20s, I experienced some really bad hormonal acne. So for me, selfishly, that is what drove my interest into understanding the color wheel, color correction. It was
Sorry, does that mean to cover up the acne? Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was mostly like I had to leave the house, and when I would have breakouts, I couldn't do it. I found myself I just gave in to my insecurities, and I was like, I can't do it. So makeup at the time for me it lent me confidence to do things that I needed to do. And then I did learn down the road that like it has to do a lot with diet and like lifestyles. But my journey with acne was definitely what made me interested in makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more of like so you cleaned up your diet and then did you learn? I'm always curious, how do people do it? Do they get into, okay, I'm going to make a really cool eye, or do I get more as I'm really into the contouring piece, or is it the eyebrow shaping? What part of it were you like, I want to be a master at that?
So mine was
Skin coverage.
Yes. And being able to wear like concealer and foundation, but it not look like you are.
So did you play around with that, or did you actually go through training?
No. So I played around with it for forever, but also I used to model. So I would travel around with Paul Mitchell.
What?
And I would see them do my own makeup, and I was like, wait, that's not what I look like. Like, how?
Yeah.
I asked questions. I paid attention. I asked product questions. I just chased after education on it. I've spent a lot of money doing online courses. There's not really a makeup school that you can just go to.
I know. I was wondering that.
Yeah. So cosmetology school is mostly focused on hair. I would say 99.9% is hair. And then they give you a piece of paper with a flat face on it and are like, do makeup. And you're like, what? Like,
That's not the way, all the different shadows of the contouring of the skin over the bones.
yeah,
and
it's so hard. I
gotta back
eventually
up.
was just self-taught. Yeah.
I got to back up. Did you like painting or drawing when you were in school?
No, but it's so funny. My brother, he's an artist, and he is like a graffiti street artist. He's killing it.
I love that. That's
But
cool.
he's super into drawing, and I can't draw. I'm a stick figure girl. Like I cannot draw
Really? Okay.
anything. My kids, my son, he's incredible. He's already drawing like foxes and pizza slices with glasses and faces and
love
stuff.
that. I love
But
that.
no, I was never. Maybe I never tapped into that.
I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because you must have that part of the brain that has that
Yeah.
You can see something in such a certain way.
Yeah, I do love like lines, like clean, sharp lines. But no, drawing was never, or sketching was never something I got into.
So are you more blending to the skin tone that somebody already has? Like when you do your foundation and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, so it's
And I love the idea of making it look like you don't wear any. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've been to some of the cosmetic counters.
Where
And they're
there's
like, let me do
cake.
your face. And I'm like,
You're like,
oh my
excuse
God,
me, how
who is
many
looking at
layers?
me?
Yeah.
I'm just
No.
going to sweat under this.
So I really paying attention to the color wheels. So it's like looking at your skin, understanding what your undertone is, and then balancing it out using greens, pinks to like correct reds and dark circles. And so not just like slapping on foundation or concealer, but really understanding colors and what cancels out, and shadows and light, like what goes forward and what goes back. That
Well, there's a lot
Girl,
more to
you
it
should
than
have-
I realized. Oh my God, I'm enlightened.
Girl.
it's a science. It is. It's hard.
It is. And
Yeah.
she would
Wow.
probably, if she picked up a paint brush and she would probably create something absolutely stunning on a,
I don't know about that. but
you should totally
Continue
do
to
that.
make women feel stunning. That's awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
I want to get into. I'm gonna go into the fashion myths and facts. 'Cause I think that's fun, and I want to know too. Also, how did you become successful? But let's do the facts and
Okay.
myths. Okay, as a makeup artist, tell me if this is true or false. To make your eyeshadow stand out, you use white pigment.
So are you talking about like a primer underneath first, or
Sure.
so if you use a primer under your eyeshadow, that'll help like with longevity.
Okay.
And yes, it'll make the color be more true to what it is instead of slapping it on to just like your nude eye like eyelid. But also your eyelid isn't just nude. It has like blues and greens in it as well.
What?
Yeah. If you look at your veins, right?
true.
Oh,
Yes, yes. Okay, gotcha.
So when you close your eye, you slap on a white primer, white pigment, you're giving yourself a true good jumping off base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
A true white base. So then obviously your colors are going to be more true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of white eyeshadow.
But if you're just thinking
Remember
of
the 80s?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now they use white eyeshadow in replacement of like that inner eye highlight.
Oh, I've seen people wear that.
Yeah.
Like a little dab.
And sometimes it's a little too much, right? Or else the powder isn't as finely milled as it should be. So it looks like chunky, like glitter.
Yeah.
A lot of people now are using white pigment in the corner of their eye and then blending it up. So then it just brightens in a little bit, but it's not as, are you wearing glitter on your eye? So it's still just, oh, she just woke up like that type of thing. So
I need lots of help.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to come
There's
to
a
you.
lot
Like,
of
make me
different-
look like I'm wearing makeup, but not wearing makeup.
That's my specialty.
That's what
So
I
you got
love.
it. Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is, this is so funny. Okay. The best way to bring out a natural hue to your lip and cheek is to match to the color of your nipple. True or false?
It is. I think it's so true.
Totally. What
I
if
think
you're
it's so true.
I always say I have anemic nipples. They're iron deficient.
I just feel like
I have Filipina nipples, so mine are a little dark.
You're a little darker.
Yeah.
So that is true.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the next Walmart. Watch out as I pull out a nipple
Your
and
nipple.
match.
And
You
matching.
just get arrested. We're going to see you in the jail roster here.
I love that. Okay, so that's true. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think too, like you can play with it. So if you're already at home and you're listening, take like maybe your 3 favorite lip liners and see, and then you could play within the 2, just like somewhere in that tonal range.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I'm going to be, my daughter's going to walk in the room and I'm going to have my lip liner up next to my nipple. And she's going to be like, Mom, what
You're
the
going to be
hell
like,
are
what
you
do
doing?
you think?
Yeah. What do you think, Charlie?
And then should we do yours?
Okay. Sorry. Just
Bonding moment.
Okay. Speaking of
What if they would be exactly the same? Daughter mom moment.
and we're both holding our nipples out with our pencils. It's amazing. Okay, speaking of glitter and sparkle, which I'm bummed about this one because I do love a good sparkle. No one should wear glitter or sparkle after 40 years old.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Totally?
I
Okay,
think
good.
that's total bullshit. Like, I
I'm
feel
well
like
beyond 40.
yeah.
So, okay.
Glitter and sparkles are magical. Like they have that energy to just make anything fun and giddy and just
Yes.
don't take yourself so seriously. Like wear the
good.
freaking like sparkles. Come on.
We just decided, no joke, the theme for IWD, Ski for IWD this year, statewide, is going to be sparkle and shred. And I'm like, oh my God,
that's
it's
cute.
I get to
Shred
bling
away.
out my
Yes.
face for
Yeah.
Ski for IWD.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
Oh, totally
Yeah.
fun. Okay, the next one is, and we only have 2 more.
Okay.
You should never pair navy with black.
Oh, there is something scientific to that, something with the brain where it's these little things where it was like if you wear dark on top and dark on bottom, like it's something like your brain tells you to trust that person less.
What?
Oh.
So I think from like a psychological standpoint, maybe no, but I'm a rule breaker.
Yeah.
So I say go for it. Put me in a box. Like you can do that.
You guys got to go to her Instagram. It's at Marcela Cloud makeup, right?
Yeah, underscore at the very end.
At the very end. You're just going to be inspired. It's inspo. Okay, so go check it out.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's fun over there.
Okay, the last one is the shape of one's eyebrows can change the look of the face.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. So if you don't know what you're doing, go to a professional. I would love to shout out Liv Beauty. She's in Whitefish. She is the brow queen.
Okay, I need to know this.
And she can help you with all the things. But I just
Translucent
feel
eyebrows?
like
Can she do something with the translucent eyebrows?
she's got you. She can do a good tint. But I just feel like it does. It can make you look older. It can make you look harsher.
Okay.
So definitely do some research on your brow.
So it does
type.
more than highlight your eyes. It
Yes.
does the whole face.
If you were to, let's say, take a little bit of your ends off and do more of a straight brow, that gives you like so much more lid space and will trick the eye into thinking that your face is going more up. Whereas if you have a long tail, it can sometimes drag your eyes down.
What?
I know.
Okay,
But
Liv,
guys-
or what's her name again?
This is Liv Beauty
Liv
in Whitefish.
Beauty.
Whitefish. She's incredible.
I want a pen and write that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Liv, I'm calling you. I need help. All right, let's transition into your career. Talk to us a little bit about when you felt in your career that you felt very valued or a badass.
Ooh, referrals and rebooks always make me feel like a badass.
Yes, of course.
Because it's, you guys clicked with me. You liked the artistry. That's incredible. And then also like referrals having one of your loved ones speak so highly about me is just, it makes me feel really good.
Aww.
And then another time that I felt like a complete badass, I was on my first shoot, like one of my first big production shoots with Coleman. And I had to style, I think it was 8 models who I'd never met before coming in from California. These are like models who like, they work. They've worked with high-end companies.
Wow.
And so I had to dress all of them for a 3-day shoot. And I walked away feeling like a badass because no notes, nothing was changed.
Ooh,
they were like,
that is a
you
huge
killed
compliment.
it. Yeah.
Like,
so I walked away and I was like, okay, girl.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that felt good.
So you had to style them and do the makeup.
No, so
That was
on
fun.
some of those larger shoots, I just do one or the other because it can be a lot to be in 2 places at once.
Yeah.
But that one, I dressed them. And this was like across the board. A guy is tall 6'6", one guy was like 5'10". Then you've got your women. So it was just so fun. And to know I like killed it, I owned it and no changes were made. It was like, oh, this is where I should be.
Good job,
Like,
girl.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank
Do you prefer makeup or styling? Which one do you?
Ooh, that's hard. Yeah. Makeup, I love when I can have a little bit more say in like the outcome, like instead of just doing like a look for a bride or something like that, like where I can have a little bit more creative freedom.
Right.
Styling, I tend to lean towards just because I do makeup so much.
Yeah.
So it's just like a switch up for me.
For your brain.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's another creative route.
So you would like somebody like me where I sit down and go, I don't care what you do, just do your magic.
Literally. That would be my favorite. But then, of course, I do have a consultation because some people, they don't know what they don't want until they get something.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I didn't want any of that. But they didn't know that until they got something. And then they have an opinion. So it's always like it's a give and take type of relationship there. Yeah.
I'm more of ASMR for me is like when somebody does my makeup or combs my
I
hair.
know, it does feel so good. It does feel yeah. People are like, you're petting my face.
I love it. I love it. I'm like, I don't care if you just make me look like a clown. Just keep doing it.
Just keep touching me.
I love that. Let's talk about how do you balance motherhood, work, and life?
Oh, DND.
D&D.
Put your phones on D&D, people.
Do not disturb.
yes.
Okay, I was like, I wasn't getting that.
What? TNT, but
yeah.
So many of my friends are like, we texted you 2 days ago and you still have not replied. And I'm like, I'm taking a hiatus, guys. Like even from you, like
Yes.
even friendships for me can be work.
Good.
So I put my phone on do not disturb all the time. If I'm out working and then I come home, instantly it's on do not disturb because now
And
my
that's a
time
great
is
way
with
to
my
value
yeah,
time.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but I'm not a fast response girly. I'm not going to respond to your email within a couple hours. I'm usually 24 to 72.
Good.
Because I can't do it all and I can't do it all well. So I value my time with my kids. So I'm not going to get home from a wedding working all day and then answer emails and DMs. Like, no, I'm going to spend time with my family.
That's smart.
And so for me, yes, I value an income and people knowing me, having visibility, but most of all, I'm a mom and a wife first, and my business could crumble, but my family could never and should
Absolutely.
never.
And they're
So,
only little
Good
for that
priorities.
long.
yeah.
How old are your kiddos?
9 and 8.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I read something, it was like, you only get 18 summers. So I'm already halfway through with one. So
I feel like it's less than that.
I know.
They don't want to hang out with me anymore.
I know. They're already 9 and I'm already like, let's go. And they're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the skippities and bruh. And I don't want to hang out with you. and I'm like, okay,
I'm
whatever.
like, I'm not bruh. Just call me mom.
yeah. Or it's just figuring out how to like connect with them.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
such a different energy.
And you got probably 2 different types of
oh, yeah.
personalities.
Yeah, totally.
You
Very,
gotta tap into
Yep.
their little brains
Yeah.
and how to get to them and
Yeah.
what makes them happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of work as
Yeah.
a mom. And especially with what you're doing and how you're so
Yeah.
multifaceted.
Yeah.
And then trying to balance it
Yeah.
all. You're doing a great job. And I love that you said, do not disturb. D&D. We're going to quote that.
And then also say no. So like I almost this year quit doing what I was doing because I was feeling extreme burnout. I was giving a lot of energy away to like marketing things or even to certain clients that now looking back, like they didn't need that energy from me. But I've said no. I've cut my workload almost by a fourth. Like I really took less weddings this year. I'm really trying to fall back in love with what I'm doing because I was so focused on building something that was like where all my energy was going. And now I'm like, no, I want a slow life. Like I don't want to be a boss bitch anymore. I just want to maybe make some money for my family to go on vacation. We can afford groceries.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses anymore.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that advice. I need to take some of that myself.
Yes. Because then you allow some joy in. You're like, oh, this is what I like.
Yeah. Just the little things, like going to the lake is just, I love it so much. And that to me, I value over a paycheck.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You can't get any of that back.
Yeah.
So you might as well make
shout out to the husband for working 40 hours a week. Love that for me.
Oh, I know. I'll say thank you, Matt.
Yes.
Thank you to my husband as well for allowing me to do all the shit that I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's transition into promotional work, Kate.
Yeah. Campaigns, or what do you have coming up?
So let's see. Our big one I have coming up is a styled shoot for the Wilderness Club. They just switched owners, so they're doing all new marketing and stuff like that. So that's later this summer.
And that's the big private club in Yellowstone,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's actually in Eureka.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I was thinking of the one in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Okay.
I've never been, but they've
That's
got a
the
golf course
and stuff.
Yeah. So that's a big project this summer. I've got some large weddings happening.
What type of clientele do you like to work with?
Just down to earth people. Like I've worked with some clients who I'm very much definitely the help. Like I am to work and not to be heard.
Oh, okay.
And then I've worked with people who are like, you're part of the family. Come eat at the dinner table with us. Come back. Some have even invited me to stay for their weddings, which is, I take that with, that's so sweet. Yeah. But like my clients are just people that are, it doesn't matter where they are across the board, where they're from, how much money they make, just people who value me and see the importance in what I do.
Do you prefer bridal or do you prefer more of like the Wilderness Club where it's actual like commercial shoots?
That's so hard because it's so different. Because
like the money's different.
Yeah. So like bridal is so cool because I feel like with bridal, it's like seeing Beyonce or like Taylor Swift get ready to perform live. Like the energy and like the buzz, like the intensity, like to be around that is so amazing. Like to see a woman like just step into, I'm going to be a bride, like I'm marrying the love of my life. Like it's intense. It's a gift to witness, honestly.
Yeah.
But on
you got the bridal, what do they call them?
Godzilla?
Bridezillas. Yeah. Honestly, I have not yet. Like, knock on wood. But like great. All my brides have just been so ready to marry the love of their life and have their head screwed on right.
That just makes you feel good when you're in a day like that though too.
Yeah,
there's more love in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
We need it.
Sometimes it's the moms who are a little bit more difficult just because I think of the pressure of aging.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard for them to even look at makeup as like a tool because they're like, oh, I have these wrinkles that are like all these things are changing with my face. I don't know how to do it. Like it just enhances what I don't like. And I just think we have to be a lot more kind to ourselves with aging because if you think about it, corporations prey upon women for all these anti-aging things. And really, do they do anything? Like, honestly, like placebo effect, maybe.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say like moms are pretty hard for that reason, but it's just, you have to walk them through it. And as a young woman, it is nice to build up older women because it's like, you guys did that for us. So now it's my turn to do it for you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's a sisterhood.
Marcella, can you come back and let's
I know,
talk more
you're making us feel good.
I mean, seriously, there's just so many things. My brain is going into all these other conversations that we could be having. So totally. You're just wonderful.
Oh,
so how can people work with you?
Yeah.
On my Instagram, I've got the email button. I've got DMs. I prefer emails. My DMs get a little bit crazy. Locals know me. So a lot of people actually have my cell phone number and they'll reach out that way. So yeah, emails mostly. Okay. Yeah.
So do you fly
Yes.
Okay, you go other places. You're willing to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
I have flown to LA, done music videos there. I'm in Bozeman and Big Sky a lot.
Okay.
I just got an inquiry for Canada, so we'll see if that happens.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm down to travel. Traveling makes me happy.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just side note, we market all over the state of Montana.
All right, let's go.
So good. Hopefully you'll get more business than that in regards.
I hope so.
Okay, our last 3 questions. I'm going to go ahead and start. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone who feels that they are not fitting the mold or feeling misunderstood?
So I would say embolden those parts about you. So those things that make you quirky, make them come to the surface even more. Take a big yellow Sharpie and just highlight the shit out of that stuff because it's what makes you different. Right now, it could feel like you're spending a lot of nights alone in your bedroom, but look at it as an investment to your future. So these things, these parts of you that people might misunderstand or make fun of you for are things that could make you an income in the future or give you visibility or bring opportunities to you. So I say, let your freak flag fly. Be proud of who you are. And obviously, like people are bullying you or being mean to you, like you've affected their life in some way. Just don't let them affect you.
Perfect.
Nice.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Okay, good.
Okay, switching gears a little bit here. What are 3 must-haves in your purse?
Oh, okay. Gum, because I'm in people's faces all the time and I love coffee. So I apologize in advance. Number 2 is Aquaphor. I am an Aquaphor addict.
What is that?
Self-proclaimed. It's like Vaseline, but Aquaphor.
Aquaphor.
Okay.
They used to put them on babies' butts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll put it, I put it on my tattoos as well. So I have a giant thing and I pull it out and people are like, oh, did you get a new tattoo? I'm like, oh no, this is just my lip gloss. Like,
I love that.
it's cheap and it is so great. I love it.
Now they come in like little lipstick.
Yes, they come in
type containers.
Okay.
So
But
on your lip, and it
I'm
looks
just
all
extra.
gleamy.
And I
on my
like
little
the extra
thin
large.
lips.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're like, do you have you have something like milky on your lip right there? And I'm like, it's just my little thin lip with some gel type
Have
stuff
you
on
ever
it.
seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yeah, I love that
So
one.
the dad with the Windex.
Yes.
I'm that with Aquaphor. I'm like, oh, it hurts. Let me put Aquaphor on it. Oh, you have a mosquito bite? Aquaphor. Like Aquaphor.
Got it. Done.
Aquaphor. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Also, I would love free Aquaphor. So
There you go.
There you go.
if you heard. Yes. Yeah.
We'll hashtag it or add it. Aquaphor. Okay, so you've got.
Gum, Aquaphor, and then my third would be sunscreen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I'm always at the lake.
Yeah.
One of my really good girlfriends owns Lex Aesthetics, and she has been on this acne journey with me. So she has just ingrained in me
Sunscreen, for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate, what would you have in your purse? 3 must-haves.
I would also go with the lip balm thing.
Oh,
Yeah. My cell phone and cash. I don't know. What would be the third?
I don't know. I don't know what's in your purse.
I have a very small wallet that kind of does everything. So it's lip balm and then my credit cards, cash, and phone.
You're organized, girly.
Very organized.
Your
Very
purse feels
tiny.
heavy. Your purse feels very heavy to me.
It is. I'm simplified.
Okay, our last question is, and it's one of our signature questions for our podcast. If you could pass the mic to a Montana woman to share their story on the IWD406 podcast, who would it be and why?
Okay. So I thought about this a lot because I have a lot of amazing women in my life who are doing incredible things. But the person who really stuck out to me, who I have really witnessed some healing in her journey and some huge changes, is Carly DeBro. And she is running Montana Bar Fairies. So she started a nonprofit that goes around and will put gift cards on cars that are left overnight at the bars to thank them for not driving drunk.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. So Carly's brother was one that passed away in front of the Blue Moon. He got hit by a drunk driver.
Was that like 2 years ago?
Last summer or the summer before? I'm not quite sure. But the way that she turned such a negative into a life-changing positive for not only herself, for her own healing journey, but for such a huge problem in our community.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of her. And I just think that more people need to see the work that she's doing so then we can help her get to where she needs to be and change some things that are happening in our state around driving drunk.
Can you say the name of her organization?
Yeah, Montana Bar Fairies.
Montana Bar Fairies. Okay. And her name's Carly.
Carly. And she's also a local photographer, and she's incredibly talented in that way too.
What? I can't wait to meet her and learn more.
And she has no idea this is happening.
Oh, that's a nice
Well,
surprise.
Surprise. Carly will be reaching out to you.
They're coming for you.
Marcella, I think there's so much great information from this conversation, and we need to have more of these type of conversations.
And I hope it all made sense. I hope there was a
definitely.
full circle moment for
It was
in there.
It was beautiful in so many different ways, and so many ways that we can have more conversations. Like it'll trigger for the next person sitting in the hot seat.
Cool.
We'll have more conversations about just the topics that you brought up. So I'm so appreciative of it.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And thank you so much for everything
Thank you
that
for
you
sharing
do.
your stories.
Of course. You guys were great. That was fun.
A special thank you to our podcast guest. You can find all of her links in the description of this episode. If you like what you heard, please hit subscribe. You will be notified of future podcast guests. Follow us on our social media platforms and stay tuned for our next podcast chat with an amazing Montana woman.